right? So that is my title block right there. Okay. And then it says from the top of the title block, students will measure 1/8 of an inch down, which, again, if you go on your scale, if you go on the 1/8 inch side, you just measure 1, so we'll do that. Which is 2 ticks, right? And I'm gonna go from the left to the right, or you could go from the right to the left, it doesn't matter. The description says the left to the right. Okay. And then it says, students will measure an additional 1/2 inch and draw another horizontal line down. So I'm going to draw another 1/2 inch. So basically a series of, where's my mark there, of 3 horizontal lines. All right. Clear enough? Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, easy enough. So can I have someone read the graphic scale part? To the 1/4 inch side, if I wanted, and just measure 1. Alright, and then I'm going to measure another 2 inches from there. So I'll go to my conventional side of the ruler and measure 2 inches. So from those 2 points, I'm going to take vertical lines down, and they can go all the way down to the bottom of the border, or they can stop at that line right there, because essentially when it says the resultant rectangle, this rectangle right here, that's going to be where your graphic scale goes. Okay? All right, perfect. So can I have someone read the next paragraph? So it says start from the left-hand side of this rectangle, right? I'm drawing a graphic scale. You guys don't know what that means yet, but once you see it, I know what a graphic scale looks like, or I've seen one before. Okay, so from that line, I'm gonna measure a 1/2 inch and another 1/2 inch. And I'm going to draw, and hopefully you guys can take pictures of this too, a vertical line and a vertical line within the box there, within that rectangle. Make sense? And then, kind of. And then I'm gonna make, I'm gonna measure a 1/4 inch, which is essentially the midpoint of that rectangle, from here to here. And I'm gonna draw the horizontal line, okay? So that's kind of the pattern you're looking for. It looks like, I don't know, what Northern European country's flag. I don't know, but anyway. That
1/8 architectural scale, 0 inch, 4 inch, 8 inch.
Perfect. Yes. And I don't think this is not my revised version. What's that?
Was it in feet or in?
It should be in feet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. So this area, where's the part where it says crochet?
The very bottom. The first sentence.
Once the scale, students will crochet this smaller rectangle here. I'm gonna crochet every other. And again, I would like you all to be pretty consistent in your spacing. So you may have to do a perpendicular line. I can see I'm not doing it for purposes of saving time, but I wanted to show you all with the crochet of the.
So even crochet.
Yeah, no, even crochet. So you would probably do, like right now I'm doing a 45, right? So I would do an opposite 45 so that I could get that. And you can see that I'm crocheting across both as I'm going through my set. And I'm eyeballing it right now. So if Gavin came over and measured it, I would get a good grade on my craft. But that is that graphic scale. And so, has anyone seen something that looks like, most architectural drawings are dimensioned, but let's say I'm looking at this, right? And the width of this room is, say, everywhere is gonna be 10 feet, right? If I wanted to know the length of that hallway, I could approximate 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, right? Or something like that. Same kind of thing goes here, except my base point I've already provided. It doesn't mean anything because I don't have any numbers on it. So what I need to do, below the graphic scale, and another 3/8 of an inch. I believe it's 3/8. Yeah, 3/16. Excuse me. And that's where I'm gonna write my number. Now, I will be honest, some folks do take some time to do writing out text, like architectural. Have you ever seen architectural drafting and text? So I don't do that because I like to try to get into kind of the mechanics of plan, section, elevation quicker. And nowadays the reality is you don't do that, but there's the caveat that you're gonna have to try to do some kind of neat freehand texting on this graphic scale, okay? So I'm gonna try to fit, and you can buy for yourself a template too, a 0, a 4, an 8, and a 16 on my graphic scale. Does that make sense to everybody? So again, that's 0. In this drawing, in this world, right, that's 4 feet. That obviously is an inch, right, which in 8 scale makes sense. There's gonna be 8 feet in an inch. And then if I draw a whole 2 inches, I get 16 feet.
Yeah.
Make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So that's it, right?
So the numbers would say from here to here is 4, here to here is 8.
Correct, yeah. So it's just marking out. Very good. Mm-hmm. And so, sometimes people draw the graphic scale and they forget to draw the numbers and it doesn't help you anything. Or in architecture school, you're using 8 scale a lot for plans. Sometimes you'll be asked for 16 scale model, and then site plans, typically you'll be using the engineering scale, which is the other one. But same thing, it's an increment of an inch equals some amount of feet in real life, in real scale, is what I call it. Okay? Any questions, confusion?
Can we put this anywhere on the
Nope, that's why I give you very
Okay.
specified requirements. Yeah, the title block, you can't just float willy-nilly in the plan, because sometimes you could potentially confuse it for something in the plan, right? Like a built element, like is that a bench or a series of planters, right? If it's in the middle of the drawing, so it's always gotta be in a very kind of precise location.
It's kind of like a key, right? Like,
Yeah,
and that's what
Okay.
correct.
Yeah,
It's like a
follows
key.
the key right there.
And soon enough, we will also insert the north arrow, which is important too. But-
Oh, no.
Yep.
I have seen that though, now that it has numbers on it.
Yeah, you've seen it now.
Now it's
and
not
before it
blocked.
was just
Yeah,
a rectangle.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But, yeah.
Can I have someone to understand it all, but trust the process and see, it'll kind of unfold how this elevation should relate to plan. Okay? All right. So confused faces, it's all right. Just bear with us. Say in a plan, right? We're looking down. We actually know the location of these elements. I'm gonna call them columns because it helps people. We know the location of these columns because if we're looking at them from the side, right, they're not gonna shift on us. So the idea is that if I line up my elevation with my plan below, I at least have the location of these elements relative in the X direction, right? I don't have any understanding as to where they lie in the y-axis, but I know because of the elevation drawing where they live in the X. Okay? If that doesn't make sense to you, you don't like coordinate geometries, don't worry about it, but just, so essentially what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at these vertical elements. Whose drawing is this, by the way? Thank you, Lindsay. And you're gonna bring up the lines, you're gonna use a layout line to start out. You're gonna bring up the lines from here, and they're gonna start at the top of the title block and go upward. So that's why it's really important that they're lined up. I keep getting stuck here. From here to here, and I guess for a time, I'll connect them. All right, makes sense to everybody? Okay, I brought them up, and I gotta continue them. Sorry, Kim, I might nudge you for a second here. And again, this is all light layout line weight, so probably a 4H. Again, I'm sorry, just in terms of time, I'm not changing my lead, but when I come around, I'll help you guys figure out the lead types as well. Okay, so that's it for the first step. So what's next? Do dissimilar from determining these guys, okay? And because I don't have any information about spacing in my y-axis, it's up to you as to where they're spaced. It's just gonna be a series of 3 of these. So they're gonna be 2 lines 1/4 inch apart. And they will also be a light line weight. So I'll go ahead and measure out one, let's see, 2 inches, there's 1/4 inch, and then I'll measure 3 inches, and 1/4 inch, and then I'll do 1 inch and 1/4 inch. So again, that spacing was kind of just arbitrary. You all generally had some pretty good ideas as to why you put things where you did. But you would have, and there, again, there'll be light line weights, but the spacing and everything won't look too dissimilar to your horizontal elements. But they are not horizontal elements in this particular drawing. They are just guidelines.
Hey, what was the thickness on this one again?
1/4 inch.
1/4 inch? Okay.
So you can see when they cross the vertical, they make a perfect square. Perfect. All right, so next paragraph. Let's see. Once guidelines. Yes. Have you guys talked about North Arrow? Because it sounds like, Kim, where did you hear that before?
No, what?
North Arrow. Someone.
I just saw a lot of maps with them.
Oh, okay, perfect. So generally in a map, right? In a map of the United States, where's north? To the top of the
Yeah.
sheet, right? Okay, so north is going to be at the top of our sheet too. That's standard convention. And you will get a slap on the wrist if you pin up a plan or a site plan in a review and north is like to the left or to the right or whatever without giving any kind of understanding. It's pretty much standard convention. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to locate this, and this element. Imagine they're columns and we're looking at them from the side, okay? Just try to bear with me, or tree trunks or something, right? They're these slender little elements. I'm going to locate them in plan. Now, this is an elevation. An elevation is a frontal view. It's very different from, you don't really ever experience this in your life, because every time I'm looking, like, say I'm looking at, let's say, directly ahead of me, right? If I'm still looking at things in perspective, right? Or if I'm looking at this room, I'm still experiencing it in perspective. And an elevation is all flat, right? So in an elevation, how do we show what's closest and what's furthest away? Shadows, that's a good one. Anything else? What about, it starts,
Angles.
the initials of it are L and W.
Line weight.
Line weights, angles too. So what would you expect a heavier line weight to convey in an elevation? Would that
Closer.
element closer, yeah. And something that's further away,
Lighter.
lighter, okay? So imagine this is a map, okay? Imagine you're the pencil and you're standing right here, okay? And you know that there's columns on the x-axis here, here, and here, right? The column or tree or whatever you want it to be that's closest to me is going to be in this space, or this space. The first one, right? Because it's closest to me. Because I'm standing at the south, right? And then the column that's furthest away from me is going to be in which one?
Yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, very good. And the one that's kind of in between? Perfect. So this equates to, okay, if I'm looking at this elevation, this one's closest to me. So in the plan, I'm gonna draw it. And I'm making some assertions in terms of the depth of it, but I know the width of it here. Okay. How did I know it was here? I knew the heavy was here because it lines up with this, and it's the closest one to me. Makes sense? And I'm drawing it with a heavy line weight, not because this is the heavy element, but because it's a plan. And we'll talk about that, the standard conventions for that. Okay, so now I'm gonna draw my medium. Where in this would my medium live?
The middle.
The middle one, right? But my middle one where? Here, here, or here? Perfect, yeah. So Kim and you guys figured it out together, very good. Kim got these as being columns, right? Imagine, are there any columns on here? Columns in this? There is one.
I just imagine this is a column.
Yeah, or that column right there, which is actually faster because it didn't. Imagine we're looking at the side of it, right? And then we're cutting through it and we're gonna be looking down at it. Okay? So these are, that might not help, but these are looking at the side view. This is gonna be looking at that cutaway and looking down. So this is looking like,
This is the top of the column.
so this is this, and then this is this. So it's more like this is the side of the column, and we have this magic vertical or horizontal slice, and we're looking down. So you're looking at that,
From the top.
From the top,
right?
Yeah.
From the top.
Because right now we're looking at the side.
Right now we're looking at the side of it, but now we're looking at the top.
Get it?
Like
A
a God's
little
eye
more.
point of
A
view.
little more.
But not fully.
That's all right.
I don't understand why the placement's right here specifically.
So the placement, if you want to think about just in terms of the drawing, this is the middle line weight. So if we say this is the closest, which should be heavy, the middle spacing, which is the middle line weight, and the furthest away, which is the light line weight, I know that it goes in this portion right on the x-axis because it aligns with the middle or the medium line weight, and I know that it lives in this zone because it's the medium line weight. Just like this one is closest to me, heavy,
We're here. This is closest.
this zone in terms of its location on the x-axis, and then I know that it's furthest away. It's almost like when you look at a picture, like things that are, or when you look at any view, things that are closest are kind of bolder, things that are further away are lighter. You can think about it that way too. So I'm gonna go ahead on that note. There's my light. Yep, perfect. And I'm gonna go ahead and use a heavy line weight. So this is also something that trips people up. I think, okay, I'm drawing my medium in plan, I gotta do a medium line weight. I'm drawing my light in plan, I gotta do a light line weight. I'm drawing my medium in plan, that's not right. These will be heavy, and I'll explain plan more as it unfolds, but
Okay.
all of those will be heavy.
Because with like the light, you won't like get the depth from it either, right? Like,
Correct. Blind, I can just do that.
Mhm.
These I measured out and I just determined on my own, and these are
Yeah.
all like a 4H, and the columns are all heavy line weight.